Maniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome to GeoGearHeads, episode 337. This is Randomize 70 LXX, so number 70.
I'd like
Chris,
to buy a vowel, please.
I know we need a vowel because we can't pronounce this one. But can you believe we've made it to the randomized shows, let alone 330 some regular shows?
You know, if we do one a month as kind of scheduled, and then every now and again throw in an extra one, yeah, we're right about that.
Randomized shows, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't really have a schedule for the randomized shows. We try to get them in about once a month, but after this one, it's going to be like a month and a half before our next randomized show. We just keep scheduling too much good content that I forgot to drop it into the schedule, basically.
Isn't that a real problem?
Timing stuff, you know. Oops. But tonight's going to be a good show, I'm sure. We've got a couple of the DuckTales trackable tags going out. One to someone who wrote in on the questions or comments or whatever, and we've got some good stuff there. And also one going out to the folks in the live chat. See, it does pay. It does pay to come and watch us live. Like
it really does. It
literally pays. You could win a DuckTales trackable. And you know what else I realized, Chris, is we've got some of the Captain Rodney's trackables that were unclaimed from some of the previous giveaways.
I never got one of those.
You never got one of the Captain? Well, at some point, we're going to have to get you one of those, too.
Well, but, and he was supposed to be at the...
Monkey Brad, he's the one who seems to always be wearing the Attila kilt.
Yes.
Makes him kind of hard to miss.
Yeah. I kind of want to know, but I don't want to know about what's under the Attila kilt. And
a pile of monkeys.
Oh, no, that's not a good mental picture. You didn't make it any better there, Daryl.
No, I guess I did. Okay. Sorry.
Hey, if you're just joining us for the first
to the Northwest, and I am Daryl W4, and hopefully we ran into you at GeoWizdoc. If not, hopefully we'll run into you at a different car. Well, I'm sure it's not with our car.
Okay. I had a rental. It didn't matter. I could run into it. No, that's not the way it works.
No, it most certainly does not.
You know, Daryl, this is randomized. I can talk about anything. I actually kind of missed that rental. It was a 2019. They took a trip into the future and came back with this car.
Sure.
And it had a level of tech on it. And we're talking about tech. I mean, tech that could get you to a geocache quickly and get you there safely. And I keep thinking, I got to go find out more. I'm afraid to look at the price of the car with all the tech that it had. But it was a lot of fun to be able to have. Like I say, I've got older cars. I don't have anything with that level of tech of adaptive cruise and lane management.
Yeah, the lane assist and all that adaptive cruise stuff is not the kind of stuff I tend to get on the cars. But
exactly,
it's amazing at how much tech is finding its way into the cars. And just like the CarPlay and Android Auto was cool, but the trouble is so little actually works with it. There's no caching apps that you can put up on that. I really want, Cachly or whatever to have a CarPlay element, which they're not allowed to do, which is why it's not there.
Right.
But under iOS 12, at least we're going to get Waze and Google Maps blessed so that they will have mapping, which means it might actually be a usable thing to use for navigation right now. It's just
Waze
Apple Maps, and it's hard to find good navigation software, and Waze right now is about the best one that I know of. I really need to dig into TomTom though, because I have the old TomTom app, and they discontinued that.
Don't do it.
Well, but the big reason I want TomTom is it should, and this is one of the things I have to dig into first, take those itinerary files from Cache Tour. So that I can load my cache list or my stop list, my waypoints into TomTom and have it navigate there, because that's one of the big things I wanted to do. And KD8HWG, sorry, I was about to totally mess that up, was asking if we started early. And yes, we got a little bit of an early start today because we've got so much to talk about today, and we still have the after show for the patrons coming up. So we wanted to try to get moving on it.
Wrong show for the after show. It's trademarked.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. You can borrow it tonight.
A great episode with Magnus last night. Any chance you could bend his ear about letting us have Imperial units in the cache notifiers? I wish I had been in the chat to ask last night. Well, we did get the question to Magnus, who replied. Chris, you want to read that one?
Certainly. So Magnus, the patch has been created in our development environment. It's not tested yet and not live, but it would likely start showing in a week or more. So I just looked at Cachely today, popped up to a new version.
Oh, that's not Cachely, but we're talking about Project GC.
Oh,
but Cachely has a new version too.
Well, I'm lost. Project GC will have that update very soon.
3 came out. I've been beta testing that one for a little over a month, and the big thing with that is it has the Apple Watch. So it's really for those of us who like to do periscopes, because you can do some of the base stuff, including logging, using voice dictation right on the Apple Watch, and then use your phone for like Periscope or YouTube or whatever you're using as your streaming, or playing Pokemon Go if you want to do that. So it just gives you the ability for a second screen to help with some of those tasks.
And I like that. And it has we know the phone has that capability. So I think you should be able to do that in CarPlay as well. Have running and be able to run, say, a second app like Cachely on the phone.
Yeah. Which the reason they're not doing that is kind of obvious. They're trying to keep people from using their phone.
I understand that. It's not going to stop me, but I understand that.
It's also in part that things like Pokemon Go takes so much in the way of resources that it might be really stressful on the phone, and a lot of those power jacks won't keep up with the phone power-wise and the screen is on. Right, so you can't do everything. So,
if they only had some switch in software that could slow down your phone so it wouldn't burn up your battery. Oh, wait, that was a problem.
It's only a problem if they don't tell anyone about it.
I know they've been doing it for years.
Well, actually, it wasn't years. It was only a year ago that they started doing that.
That's what they're admitting to.
Yeah. Well, there were some thermal protections that would kick in, I think. So if you had battery problems, you'd run into some thermal problems because your battery's getting too hot. And I always had the screen dim on me when I was in the car because it was getting too hot on the dashboard, which is why I switched to getting the silver or white phones.
Well, get the vent clips, and that way when you turn the air conditioner on, it cools your phone.
Yeah, they just don't work in any of the cars that I've had.
Oh,
I've tried all of them, and
they work really well in the rental that I had. So much so I left it in the car.
Ooh, well, that was nice of you.
Yeah, it's only $250. I mean, it wasn't expensive.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things. I got home and was like, oh, I want it. Oh well. Mono price.
Yeah.
Now I put monoprice.com in the show notes because I mentioned it.
Well, we need the link to that car mount.
Oh, okay. But I'll read this next one, and while Daryl's reading the one after that, I'll go get that link. Phrazy Days sent an email. They say, I've just discovered the GeoGearHeads and have started watching your episodes on YouTube. Great show and very informative. Well, Phrazy Days, thank you. And the check's in the mail for that nice review there. Right, Daryl?
Yeah. Okay. Maybe just a tag.
Oh, okay. gain a lot more information from your show. My query is about the show notes. Are the notes restricted to the paragraph under the episode details, or are there more detailed notes? And if so, how do I access them?
So basically, you have to go to the CacheManiacs.com website. The initial listing there will only give you the like abstract, the first part of the paragraph, and then you have to hit the read more link. If from your podcast catcher or from the show notes on YouTube, you click on the links there, it should take you back to the full page, which has like a paragraph-ish of stuff with the links embedded. Now, that's the only way to get the links is through that, and it's not like a list with links. It's just the paragraph, which 10 years ago when we started doing the show notes, that way was the way that, you know, the search engines liked it. I don't think it much matters anymore, so maybe we'll change it at some point. But for now, we like doing it that way because that's the way we've done it for, 6-something years on this show.
Let me tell you, Sonny, this is the way we used to do it.
Well, I'm feeling that way more and more often these days, where it's like, I don't need all of the gear that I have to do podcasts. The reason I have it this way is because 13 years ago, you needed this kind of gear to really do it.
And, at work, I've been finding more and more, well, just because this is the way we've done it, the best way to do it.
Yeah. Change, and that's true of everything. When we started off geocaching, we were doing it with GSAC, and GSAC was a later edition even, but you're loading in those waypoints on the geocaching device, whatever that would be. Some people actually use the Palm, which I think is how you guys started, wasn't it, Chris?
Well, not even a Palm. It was a Pocket PC with a GPS puck.
Yeah, actually a newer one than the Palms were at that. But in any case, we started off just with that, and you had to carry around something else to do the paperless portion of it. Now it's all on the phone. You don't have to load. You can just queue it up and go. Mm-hmm. It's really an incredible transition we've made in just over 15 years since geocaching's been around.
Exactly. I mean, the fact that now you walk out your door and
no, there weren't any because there's nothing new. Go ahead.
I was going to say KDH Hotel Whiskey Golf says home one year from Dayton, Ohio, with the phone in the vent with the AC blowing on it in order to keep it on after it developed an overheating issue. So we're not the only one.
No, it was a common problem for a little while. I know the 3GS, which I had, and the 4, and these are iPhone models, all had that issue. The 4S didn't really, but they came back with the 5 and disappeared again, in some of the later models. So it's one of those things that just kind of comes and goes. And the problem is you've got all of this stuff, all of that power that you're packing into such a tiny little package. You don't have fans in a phone. You don't even have active cooling of any type, and the battery itself is generating a lot of the heat.
But the Apple phones have so many fanboys. Doesn't that keep it cool?
No. No.
Incredible cosmic power. Itty bitty living space. Maybe that's from?
Yeah, I can't remember the movie actually, but
I'm going to wait for somebody to pop it up in the chat. Somebody in the chat knows.
I'm sure they do. While they're doing that, though, let's move on to On a Boat, who emailed, "Hey, Daryl and Chris, I know you just got back from Gigastock, but what are the chances we'll see either one of you at Midwest GeoBash this year?"
I'm putting up a 0. I'm not going to make Midwest GeoBash. When is it even?
Midwest GeoBash is in July. It's a multi-day eventually. Well, you know what? I didn't put the notes in here.
You know what? I won't say DNF magazine got it. I won't say no. I've changed my it's the end of July right. 28th.
26th through the 29th.
Probably not. I am going to be driving back. I didn't even see where is it, Daryl? Okay.
So it's west of Toledo.
I'm going towards Toledo in July. So, you know, it may be this before. I don't know, 5-6 years ago. I missed it by like one day. I didn't realize it was there and already scheduled my flight. And so I'm not saying I'll change my mind. I'm not saying zero, but I'm saying small, itty bitty chance.
I
Like
always go to
space.
Midwest GeoBash as a day trip. It's about a 2-hour drive for me, somewhere around there. And you have to go for a mega, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the same thing with me. The Going Ape 2018. That's GC7 Hotel Juliet Beta. And I'll be going to that one because, well, it's 2 hours away. You have that close.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the reasons that I go is because it's just 2 hours away. They've got a bunch of caches on rounds that they replace every year. And some of them have been really cool. Unfortunately, the bandwidth is terrible down there. So I've not really been able to do any streaming or anything like that. But I do like going and hanging out, and it's always been hot and sticky, but still worth doing it. The big thing, though, with Midwest GeoBash is for the people to go camping, and it's just not really my thing. And
not in July in Ohio.
No. And then I know a few people who have gotten sick because it rained. They couldn't even get the tents packed up well because the rain kept coming, and so yeah. No, if you like camping, it's great, and a lot of people are doing the pop-ups or the it's a nice it's a nice way to go if you like hanging out, and there's the at night. So yeah, it's a great multi for that kind of thing.
If I go there, I tend to lower the bar.
I just go for the day, and one of the things I really like doing is the lab caches, because you can really only get lab caches at the mega events. And they've had some really cool puzzle type lab caches. They've had some where you have to run around the park looking for, in the fairgrounds, looking for things in trees or whatnot to put together the words. And it's fun. It can be frustrating, but it's fun to see what they're coming up with, because it really does usually try to take the lab caches to places that you don't normally see. Now, that said, lab caches are typically doing that anyway. They're all about doing the unexpected. All right. But that's about all you're planning on doing, right? Is the Going Ape for the rest of the year?
Well, Going Ape, I'm Bounce in the chat said, anybody going to the Tri-Cities Geo? And yes, I'm going to go do that as well. That's a mega event as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so plan to go do that. I mean, here it's so easy right now because we've got GeoCoin Fest. That's going to be a mega. That's right here in within 2 hours drive. And we also have I'll have to look up the number. The event is Parlay Like It's $16.99. That's the day before GeoCoin Fest, and that's the pirate event on doing a battle sale on the boats.
Oh, yeah. One
I don't know if that's an official mega yet, but it's getting very close.
Got it. Very cool. Love to go to West Bend again. That one's always a great one to go to. I'm going to make sure to go to Going Caching next year, unless something else up. And then 2020, I'm kind of holding 2020 open. And this is a reminder, everyone hold 2020 open for Seattle, because geocaching is probably going to do, HQ is probably going to do something for the 20th anniversary out there. So we don't know what. We don't know for sure that they even are. However, they've acknowledged that they're talking about it, but they have no plans, no concept of what they're doing. So it might be a block party. It might be nothing. We don't know yet, but I'm holding it open in hopes of another block party style event. Who knows? It might be another Geo Woodstock up there.
You never know.
Nope. All right, let's move on to Team Chap 5 that emailed. Sometimes when finding a cache, especially a medium-sized one, discover 5 to 10 business card or other papers within the cache. Is this considered trash out, or would it be rude to remove the personal cards? You want to weigh in on this one, Chris?
You know, I'm going to be nice and say it depends. Here in the Northwest, cash is and business cards and papers tend to absorb water and allow mold to grow. I want to take them out. Now, I've seen business card sized personal items, shall we say. You know, they tell you about the cashier and the going caching trading cards. I've seen those in caches as well. If you're going to do something like that, put them in their own individual Ziploc bag. There.
That makes some sense. But getting back to
That's what you to do. Anything else? No. And I have spoken.
Okay. Getting back to the question of whether it's rude to remove them, if they're signature items and they're in good shape, yeah, it's acceptable to take them for your collection, but to throw them away, no. If it's in bad shape, then just pitch it. But those are typically signature items. Now, if it's advertising, that's not supposed to be in the cache anyway. However, right. A lot of the podcasts and stuff got started doing that stuff. So we can't really talk so much.
Yeah. You're right. You know, it is really cheap to produce one of those cards and toss that into a cache. Yes. However, you know, if you're in Arizona, I'm sure that's going to be fine. Right? You're in Southern California, no big deal. But if you're in a climate that gets wet and gets snow and they end up being mush at the bottom of the cache.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a signature item thing, then it's fine to be in the cache. I mean, you know, you want to do something so it's not going to create a problem, but it's, you know, part of the game. If it's an ad, then, you know, it doesn't belong there. But if it's mush, then yeah, take them and throw them away.
Okay. Let me toss out a what if, Daryl.
Okay.
Let's say this is near a coffee shop and they've tossed in a bunch of business coupons for, you know, 10% off, $2 off your drink at the business. What do you feel?
Personally, that's fine with me. However, according to the guidelines, you're not supposed to be doing that.
Right.
I leave that stuff there unless it's just really nasty and there's something nearby a trash can.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I've left some icky ones in there because I just couldn't do anything about it.
Right. Well, and Walter, the geocaching ham, I don't think he's really a meat product, but says he agrees with me. Put them in baggies. And John says some of the signature cards are placed in the log books, which are in a plastic bag.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's usually what I'll see is any of those little smaller signature items end up that way. Let's move on, though, to DF8AN. I'm sure that's supposed to be pronounced some way.
It looks like a radio call sign. I don't know, but DF8.
I don't think that is, though. In any case, yeah, there are many geocaches worldwide. Unfortunately, their owners sometimes do not care for their caches anymore. Does it make sense to allow new geocaches for a limited time only, for example, 3 years? And depending on the frequency of visits, log entries, will caches be extended or archived on the system side, thus making room for new caches? This prevents bad caches with wet or moldy logs, which does not make a good impression on the geocaching community.
Well, that's a tough one. I know we've talked before about some sort of auto archiving or auto disabling, where, you know, 4 or 5 DNFs in a row will auto disable the cache until the owner can come take a look at it. You know, that's very Munsey like. And I can agree with that to a point, but if you get a group of, you know, 5 or 6 people out caching and they all trigger a DNF, you know, that could disable that cache and they just simply didn't find it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been talk about this for ages and no one's come up with a really good solution. But I do like the concept of caches without fines in a year or whatever being archived to make room. The trouble is with some of these like old good caches, that kind of stuff, you don't want to get them archived. If it's like a really creative puzzle cache, it might be years between finds just because it's at the top of a mountain or because it's a really challenging hide. So there's trouble with doing that. How to implement it is the big problem.
At the Gigastock, I was going to call it, game, and that's no fun. There was a cache that, how long had it not been found?
I want to say it was like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So, that would have been auto disabled and another cache placed in the area, even though it had never been found.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just an evil hide.
Yeah, there's an argument for doing that. However, I would like to see something with these older, lower quality caches being archived, but then you have to have the cache quality score, which, how do you make that work right? Yes. I like the concept though. Let's get rid of some of these caches and make room for new ones. I've got some caches that I want to replace myself because they're not great caches. No, actually,
favorite.
Yeah, no pine trees. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I have any pine trees, but in any case, they're ones that, I think should probably be archived and replaced. I just don't know that I've got anything to really, some of these are in areas where the only place you can really put the cache is right where it's at. And, like even if I go like 15 feet out trying to get a new hide location, it's just available. It's like in the middle of the lawn at a park.
Right.
So you just can't do it.
Well, I mean, but if it's your cache, you could then go create, say, an AR cache. Oh, wait, we haven't talked about those yet.
No, we'll get into that though.
Or some sort of puzzle cache that still leads you back to the same location, but maybe takes you around the park a little more.
Yeah.
Cache at the same location and make it interesting for new finders. Not
Absolutely.
just update the container and the description and say, here, go find a new cache.
Absolutely. But a lot of what I like to do are these easier caches so that, especially in the parks like this, one that I'm thinking of right now, because it is in a good community, people start their caching there. It's actually where I found my first cache after DNFing my first attempt, was in this park. And I've kept the tradition of that first cache going, where it's a easy find in a good sized container back in the woods in a park where a lot of families go and have picnics. There's the soccer fields, there's tennis courts, that kind of thing with leagues. So it's a park that a lot of people go and visit with a lot of different facilities.
Yeah, like Saturday in the park. Could have been the 4th of July. Oh, sorry. I should write songs.
So let's move on to the hidden creature stuff, though, because we're already at half an hour. We've got a lot more to cover.
How random are we? We can't even get through our show notes.
No.
Okay, so the blog has, you all know about the hidden creatures summer, not an event, promotion.
Promo? Yeah.
Coming up. That's from June 27th through July 25th. And in fact, Daryl, I have to say, there's a couple of caches I haven't found yet. And I thought, I could go. Oh, I'll wait. It's like 2 weeks away. I'll wait to go get them so I can get some more points then.
This is one of the problems with these kind of things. Is, you start hanging on to cache finds. But this time it's nice and easy because it's one cache equals 1 point.
Exactly.
There's no weird scoring or anything. And this one doesn't even use a friend link.
No. So it's whole idea is go find 100 caches. You find one cache, you get the Bigfoot souvenir, 3 for the fairy, 5 for the unicorn, 7 for the kraken, which you have to release, obviously. 9 for the hippocamp. Is that what they call a group of sleeping hippopotamuses? A hippocamp?
No, that's where the young hippos learn how to hippo better.
Oh, okay.
They go to the hippo camp.
11 for the mermaid, and then we jump to, so the Sphinx is 15, and then the Griffin, Phoenix, Troll, Yeti, Dragon, and the all famous World Turtle.
Well, the drag is actually 50, not just 40.
Oh, you're right. I didn't.
So it jumps
you're
even
right.
further. Yeah.
So Yeti's 35, Dragon's 50, World Turtle is 100.
Yeah. So it's harder to find those last two. But a lot of people I know are already making their plans. They're going to get Geo Tours or Geo Art or
GeoArt or Power Trails.
Power Trails. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, a lot of
knock them out in one day.
Right. I've heard a lot of feedback on this that, oh, how boring. Just go find 100 caches. Well, in the past, they were like, well, I've only got to find 6 caches and I can only find this type of cache this week. That's no fun. So it's just different. Now they're pushing numbers a little more, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's a different aspect of the game. I really don't have a problem with it. I'm not likely to find the World Turtle just because you have less than a month to find 100 caches, and it's that part that's typically harder for me to get out and go caching because there's enough other stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also right before Midwest GeoBash. It ends like when Midwest GeoBash would start.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. So none of the caches that I find there, none of those lab caches are going to work. So
will lab caches work?
I don't believe so, but
interesting.
I haven't seen anything to say either way, whether it does or not. And I probably just haven't, but I did look for it. And I'm wondering if part of the reason that they've done it in that time is I'm not sure there's any mega events. So there may not be lab caches to be done during that period. There probably are.
No, that's just before Tri-Cities.
Oh, okay.
Or I'm sorry. Yeah, just before Tri-Cities. Tri-Cities is on the 23rd. I don't know when the ape cache or the ape event is.
I thought that was August as well.
You're right. It's August. So yeah, this is, interesting.
All right, let's go. Augmented reality caches that you mentioned.
Pirate caches
Are this is, I think it is.
I don't think it is.
This is something they've been working on, and the tools that they're endorsing had nothing to do with what's at Gistock. So I think this was something that's been in the works for a little while, and we've had questions about the AR stuff come in for over a year now. Since before they had AR Kit and AR Core. So this is, I think, a question that's been coming up, and they finally came up with a way to give it a test run. And this is something to remember. These augmented reality caches are just trial balloons. If you do them, they have a survey that they want you to complete that's going to be caches stay or go, and what happens with them in the future. So the trial period is for June 6th through the 7th. You can submit a mystery cache that is an AR cache, and the caches might or might not be archived. They haven't decided that. So they didn't really say when the trial is going to be terminated. So it could be that on September 6th, they just say, okay, this isn't working. And so if you submitted your cache on September 6th, at the end of the day, they could say, nope, and it's archived. We don't really know. It depends on how well it's going. But here's the real catch. It has to be available on Android and iOS. It's free to download and create the account. The users must be able to upload their own AR overlays, and it has to be location-based AR. So right now, the apps that they're recommending, or I should say endorsing probably more than recommending, is the HP Reveal and the Metaverse apps. And it seems like most of these are going for Metaverse. because it's supposedly more stable than HP Reveal, and it's actually easier to develop for. They did give some links also to, or some call outs to ones that do not qualify. So if you're going to get involved, it might be worth checking it out ahead of time so that you can save yourself the grief of trying to develop in something that isn't supported. It also says that only mystery caches can require finders to use an AR app to find the cache. The cache name must have the following format, which is AR underscore and then the name of your cache. Now, one of the cool things about that is they also have a link, and we'll put that in the show notes, to show you all of the augmented reality geocaches. It's just using that advanced search tool. And since the show started, one more has been published. We were at 79 when we started the show, and I just refreshed it. We're now at 80. So it's showing you all of the augmented reality caches in one list. So I do like that feature. Yeah, you can go and do it that way.
Mm-hmm. For me, the closest one is still 253 miles away.
Mine's 83 miles, so not likely that I'll be doing it. Get a good day that I don't anything else I have to do, and I might actually give it a shot.
I'm impressed though. I mean, we have some in the US, obviously. Europe has a good number. Norway and Sweden has some. One in South Africa, a couple in Australia, one in New Zealand. So, there's a bunch around Ontario.
Ontario's a pretty big province, though. So I'm guessing. Oh, Toronto. Okay, yeah. I was going to say I'm guessing it's mostly the Toronto area because they have a fishing community up there.
Vibrant. So vibrant, it's spinning.
I don't think so. I think that might only
6
be the
around
tower.
San Diego.
CN Tower. Ooh. All right. It also says that your cache description must include the AR app and a link to the app stores to download it for both Android and iOS. And you have to paste in a block of HTML, which states that it's basically a test run and it has a link to grandfathered in the survey form. It's a Google survey. So any of the ones that you do will have the survey on the cache page. So make sure to go ahead and try to find them before they get killed off, if they do kill them off. Or take it and yeah. I just popped into my head that on Geocache Talk last week, they were talking with a couple of the guys from Gigastock that were doing the AR caches out there, the lab caches. And the opinion was voiced there that they don't think they're really going to be able to kill AR caches. But I think they already had. There are some reviewers that would allow them through. But the official response when we talked to geocaching.com about it was it has to be available for free for Android and iOS, and gave us some stipulations. And they said, basically, at this point, there are no conditions at which an AR cache would be allowed.
Interesting.
So that was probably a year ago, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that some of the caches have slipped through, but I think it's up, it's a lot of this is up to the review. So the reviewer might not be aware of the specific rules that have blocked AR caches. It could be that they've allowed some of these as more of a test. I don't know, but I would not say that AR caches are going to be allowed. I think this is a test, and I think it will lead to the question being answered as to whether they'll continue or not.
Anything that relies on an app, I think, is questionable because apps change regularly. and they force you to upgrade hardware, or they're not going to work with the current operating system, whether it be old or new, and you're going to run into a lot of things that I think it's an interesting test, but I don't see it as a long-term solution.
Well, and one of the big things that I found interesting about this is they're allowing you to link to the app stores, which normally linking to the app store like that is a violation of the commercial use policy, which was one of the very things that they mentioned when we had talked with them before about it. So it to me seems like it is a test. I don't think we're going to see this fail miserably, but I'm not sure we're going to see it really successful. I do wonder if this is going to be the next stage of Where I Go, though, and if maybe this test leads to a whole nother icon type.
Interesting. An icon type that you can only see through your phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, seriously. So that's something that you would be able to filter out easier. So if you don't have a phone, it's not going to show. And I think that might be ultimately this goes.
Interesting.
Because most of the vocal opposition, I don't cache with my smartphone, or I don't have a smartphone.
That's okay. You don't have to find these.
Right. So if they made it its own icon that's easy to filter out like that, now I think they've satisfied that contingent as well. But we don't really know.
Well, I went ahead and posted the link to the AR caches in the chat if anybody wants to jump in there and take a look. And we see Keepers of the Cache Flow is building one right now. So good for you.
Yeah.
Put it near my house because I'd like to go find it.
And let us know what your thoughts are on it. Show coming up in like 6 weeks or something like that. We'd like to share some of the experiences there. And
Daryl, those could be grandfathered by then. We don't know.
No, because it goes through September 60th.
Oh, then we're fine.
60th of September.
60th.
Yes. It's been one of those days, I guess.
And I'm the one taking medication, Daryl.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the medication. Let's move on to the Engadget article that just came out today and I thought was worth sharing, that the UK will not be involved in Europe's Galileo satellite navigation program. And we've talked about this a few times as to the questions that surrounded Brexit and whether the UK was going to be kicked out of Galileo or not. And the decision came down. They are being kicked out of the Galileo program.
You're out of the EU. You're out of the Galileo program. Goodbye.
Yep. Which is basically the way that I expected it to go. However, the UK is, understandably angry because they've put £1 billion toward the project.
That's a chunk of change.
That is. And part of why I'm sure were interested in it, they're going to have a base station in the country, and that had to be moved too. So they're also threatening that they want to get a refund on that $1 billion and that they're looking at putting up their own competing network, their own satellites. So this could get really interesting for a lot more reasons. But sounds like, UK is kicked out of the whole Galileo program entirely now.
Do you think they'd come up with theirs and call it Figaro?
They might.
Figaro, Galileo.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a song in there. You'll figure it out.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
And I'm trying not to sing it. Meanwhile, from the UK, Beep message, which is a link to the story in the Daily Mail about a woman who was only 27 that drowned in the Prague sewer system during flash floods while geocaching. So there's not much that we're going to say from this because it's really just a reminder. Be careful of what you're doing and make sure you understand the conditions and the circumstances, because you should not be in any kind of sewers in any kind of sewers at all in a rain. That's just dumb.
I mean, flash floods are difficult to predict, but that's a tough thing. I mean, you're in the sewer system. There's always a chance that something's going to happen.
Yeah. Sewers are just kind of like not really a good place to go geocaching, but it is appealing.
Yeah. And I assume it was storm sewers, not, sanitary sewers. But even so, it's a place that I would tend to want to go geocaching.
No. But the storm sewers definitely should not be someplace that you go during any kind of rain, or after the rains.
Or after, exactly.
Because you'll have a lot of the rainwater that gets dumped into this, days after the rain. All of these overflow reservoirs and stuff that won't necessarily release the water until later on.
Now, I will say I found a geocache inside a storm sewer. There was a group of us that went down. It was and this is where the storm sewer emptied out. And it had just rained, and water was shooting 3 to 4 feet out of the storm sewer. And we could see the cache, but there was no way we were getting it. Came back another day. You had to crawl in to actually go in and open it. So,
yeah. So right decision made, obviously, but
but it's one of those things of like, oh boy, that's a lot of water. We're right here. How can we get this cache? We've got to figure out a way to.
Yeah. You just got to call it sometimes. It's not worth it.
Exactly. But it's there, Daryl. It was so close.
All right. Let's move on to the last thing we're going to talk about before we go into the bonus show. And that's an article I spotted on ZDNet, which is a tiny, rugged 4G smartphone that's under $300. And part of what interested me was just this. What about those guys who didn't really want a phone because it's not rugged and who wants to carry around that big slab of glass when they're geocaching? A lot of people do, but I just don't understand it. So this would satisfy those people because it's 2.45 inches. That's all the bigger the screen size is.
Yeah, it really is tiny. I'm kind of leaning going back to a smaller phone. I've had the big phone and get to a point of, I'm going to sit down for dinner. Hold on, let me take my phone out of my pocket so I'm comfortable. But
I do not like those bigger phones. I totally understand it for like my boss, who's the salesman, and he does everything from his phone. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. He's basically using it in a computer or a tablet. But for someone who's walking around with a phone, I have a hard enough time not smacking.
You mean the iPad Nano?
Yeah, I have a hard enough time with even the iPhone 5 not smacking that into branches as I walked past.
I have gone out, I think it was just one time with the iPad, just as a proof of concept.
I've done it a few times.
It's actually, you can do it. It's not great.
Yeah, I've done it more often with the Android tablets, and the concept, but it really doesn't work so well out of like the car. In the car, it's awesome.
Right. Well, it's really nice to have a place to sign the log when you find it, because you've got, this clipboard-sized tablet with you.
Yeah, it depends on the back. I have one that's a bumpy back, and that doesn't work well.
Oh, okay. You have to do it on the glass.
Yeah. The screen size we mentioned was only 2.45 inches. Well, here's where I see the big problem. The resolution is only a 240 by 432. So you're probably going to have trouble with a lot of the apps not wanting to load because it's such a screen. But it is an Android 8.1, which is Oreo. It has 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs storage, a 16 megapixel rear camera with an 8 front. It's some good hardware on this thing.
Yeah, the cameras are impressive.
Yeah, well, the cameras are good. It's got the RAM. It's got the storage. It's from current OS. So they don't mention what the processor is yet. It's just a CCTA core is all they're saying. It's unnamed. But
processor to be named later.
Yeah, basically. But the hardware seems like it's pretty good, especially if for a $300 phone, it's not bad. But, we don't know because we haven't actually seen this thing in action. They were, however, able to do IP68. So, it's a pretty durable little phone. It's got a 2000 milliamp hour battery, which isn't huge, but for something that small, it's probably going to last a good long time. I just always worry about these rugged phones because the experience that we've had with the Samsung Galaxy 5 Active was so bad that I just get really nervous about them. I like the concept, but it just didn't work out well for us. Well, Chris, we better wrap this one up. And that was our last story anyway. So why don't we go to the winners?
Well, let's start with the DuckTales trackable winner. And that was picked at random from those who sent in questions or articles for us to read. And the winner tonight is on a boat. So we won't be able to tell them they're a winner until they come back in.
Well, he's a Michigan. Actually, no, I think he's Ohio. But either way, he's probably in the Great Lakes. So as long as he comes close enough to shore, he'll be able to get the signal.
Okay. The winner is on a boat. There's no way to say that doesn't sound like I'm describing the actual geocaching name.
Very true.
And we also have one from the live chat. So if you were evening, your name was tossed into the hopper, and out of the hopper, it's funny that I use that term, comes bounce, 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 hopper. You know how it goes.
I do. Yeah. Well, congratulations, both of you. Email us your address so that we can mail that out by June 28th to collect DuckTales tag. And that email address is GeoGearHeads@CacheManiacs.com. We also want to say thanks to the patrons. Stick around for the bonus show, which will start in just a few minutes after this. But also breaking news, we have a patron hangout scheduled for June 26th. That's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time or 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Hopefully you can join us for that one because we always have a blast on those.
We do. You know what? We're almost done, but there's one more thing. We've got an iTunes review from Patient Rock. And they say, genuinely my favorite geocaching podcast. It's reliable. The hosts clearly do a lot of planning and the topics are diverse and the hosts are knowledgeable. Love every episode. Well, thank you, Patient Rock, and for everyone else who's left an iTunes review. If you haven't, please consider leaving us an honest review. You don't have to pat our egos. Though Daryl likes it, I'm okay without it. Sorry, Daryl, I had to say it.
Hey, I love the honest reviews because they've helped us fix some problems too.
Exactly. And those reviews help us in the iTunes podcast store. I guess that's what you call it, right?
It's just Apple Podcasts now.
Yeah. Okay. In the Apple podcast area, the more reviews, the more positive reviews we have, the search ranking. So that helps everyone.
And it gets us bigger audiences, and that means more feedback, more everything, including more great shows. And next week, we're going to be talking about cruise caching again with Subway Mark. He's been doing some cool stuff, so I'm anxious to catch up with him and see what he's done lately. Then on the 29th, we're talking about regional organizations with GeoMonkey Tiger of the Georgia Geocaching Association, Geocachers Association, sorry, and Merlin 1392 of the Michigan Geocachers Organization.
He needs an exclamation point behind his name.
Yeah, he's just not excited yet because he's early on in the challenge things, but both of these organizations are doing those caching challenges, and we've had GeoMonkey Tiger on to talk about the ones that he's doing with GGA, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it on the 29th. Then on the 5th of July, we're going to be talking about conversions. This is not, we're talking about converting muggles to cachers, and that's going to be with GSMX2. Times two. Okay, fine. Times two. And on July 12th, For episode 341, we're going to be talking about friendships. And this is going to be with Cowboy Bebop and Lobotomy. We met those guys over at the Gigastock. They're actually fellow podcasters. So
if I've met Lobotomy, I don't remember them.
I think that's intentional.
Okay.
I really do.
Hey, sorry about the puns. It's what I do. But make sure you check out the Cashmaniacs website at cashmaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes from this and all our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by email gearheads at cashmaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cashmaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cashmaniac shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2018 by Daryl Wattenberg, all rights reserved.
Cash with the Cashmaniacs.